Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks workshop. Wow. That's all I can say is wow. There's just so much to say wow about. Well, I hope we're live anyway. I don't see any viewers on here yet or any comments scrolling up the screen. And I guess I'll sign into my chat here so that I can maybe see those comments. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to do. But it's not bringing me anywhere. There we go. Okay. And bear with me for just 1 second here as I do that. And I think I've done that. Now I see 48 viewers, so I guess we are cooking here. And a few things have scrolled up the screen, it looks like. So, good morning to y'all. Well, it's morning here anyway. It has been cold here on the farm. Yeah, you know, people always say, well, it's, 32 below here. Well, yeah, okay, or below zero, I mean. Yeah, it's not quite that cold, but we've had quite a few nights in the single digits, 8 degrees, that type thing. Now, we're talking Fahrenheit, so that's quite a bit below freezing. 32 is freezing. So 8 degrees is very cold. And we've had a couple of nights like that. We've had quite a few nights in the teens, a bunch of nights in the 20s, just a few nights in the 30s. So, I mean, like low 30s, below, even still below freezing, below 32, like 30, 31, that type of thing. Anyway, most every single night's been below freezing for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Guess what that means to me? I'm cutting firewood like you would not believe. You couldn't even imagine how many trailer loads of firewood I've gone through in the last 3 weeks. I mean, you just wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it at all. More than most people would burn in 2 winters, I guarantee you. Anyway, it's been crazy, and so not a whole lot's getting done here in the shop. I am further and further behind. When Caleb left there and had 2 or 3 projects started that I just haven't been able to get back to yet, so those are just sitting. I've been able to work a little bit on the world's finest mandolin, which will show you some of that progress here. I think you'll enjoy seeing that. But otherwise, I've just been working, just cutting firewood and trying to keep my head above water. That's about it. It has been freezing cold. I got my ears lowered, somebody says. Yeah, my wife has started doing that, the old COVID haircut, That's where it started. And she enjoys cutting it now. She, for whatever reason, that just tickles her to do that. So I say, hey, knock it out. Save me $20. So, it's not the money for me. It's the time. It's the going to town and the killing the time sitting there waiting your turn and that sort of thing. And I know that you modern yuppies get it by appointment and all this stuff, but forget that. I don't do that stuff. I go to the barber shop, and old school all the way. Yeah, we're going to get into a little bit more of that old school of just in a little bit here too. Just a couple things to talk about. First of all, I wanted to say thank you to some folks for some gifts that I received. Gary Boer of the Boers sent me a wonderful CD. If you don't have this CD and you enjoy bluegrass, well, you probably ought to get this. And I was told Gary that I was going to play some snippets in this morning's program. And I had every single intention in the whole world to do that this morning. Got out here at 6 a.m. Yeah, just talk to the computer. That's all I can tell you. Everything I tried said, nope, I ain't going to do it. I couldn't even tell you how many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of CDs I have downloaded over the years on these computers. And the reason is because I had a radio program for many years, and people were sending them to me from all over. And, I would put them on my computer, build my show, and, give it to the radio station, and they would play my show. Well, so I know how to do this. Trust me. It's not like it's my first rodeo. But this would not work this morning at all, no matter what I tried. In fact, it even screwed up my whole sound on my computer, and it wouldn't work. Took me forever to get all that working again. Just just not easy being me, Gary. But that's no reflection on this CD. It is quality all the way. The musicianship is just 100%. It is great. I put a link in the description of this video to, I think it's called It's Too Late, and that's one of the songs that Gary wrote. And the whole CD is just really, really good. And the musicianship is incredible. The singing's very good. Everything's really good on it. So thank you, Gary, for sending this to me. I really appreciate it. And if you don't have it, you need to check this out. And there's some, there's some links in YouTube. Well, the link I put in there is to a YouTube video and sound for this, for one of the songs. Anyway, check that out. Can't even talk this morning. But that might change here. I might get on a rant. You just never know. Any minute now that could happen. Another thank you. I wanted to say thank you to my buddy Richard Reisner, who is the gunsmith down there in Texas. And I was going to tell you where, Georgetown, Texas. I couldn't think of the town. But he sent me a bunch of pieces of deer antler. Most of them will work just fine. There's probably one or two that might be too short. But these are the bases. That's the best part of the antler. That's the part I need. And this part that goes down into the skull here is actually the most solid part. So actually down about another ½ inch below the base of this is really the most solid part. So I'll be using that whole section right there to make a antler saddle for a mandolin. And there's quite a few in here, so there's quite a few saddles in this. So I really do appreciate it, Richard. Thank you very, very kindly. As I said, Richard's a gunsmith there in Georgetown, Texas. So if you need something like that, look him up. And lastly, on my gift thing here, Mr. Don O'Neill from Houston, Texas. Don ordered my mandolin lesson quite a few months ago. Anyway, he was having trouble getting it to work, and he couldn't get it to work, etc. and so forth. And I worked with him on it, and we just couldn't get it to work. And finally, apparently on his own here, Don discovered somehow or another that it was actually working on his computer, and he got it to work on his computer. And so he decided to, I refunded his money, by the way, and so he wanted to pay me back for that refund and then some, and man, did he ever. So, yeah, thank you so much, Don. You're very, very honest, you're very kind and generous. I really appreciate that very, very much. And let's see here, the next thing, my granddaughter. I've mentioned to you about her being a basketball star here at the Newburgh High School. Well, nothing could be further from, nothing could be more true than to say that she's one of the female basketball stars for her high school. They have a 13-1 record right now, and here's Mary, what she looks like. Now look at those hands. I told you she could palm a basketball since she was 12 years old. Look at those hands. Guess where she got those from? Just huge, long fingers. Not big, thick hands or anything, but just long, skinny fingers. And so she's been able to palm a basketball since she was 12. Her male coaches always get mad at her because she's standing there holding the ball like this, showing off, and they get mad because they can't do that. It's pretty funny. But anyway, they've really been doing well. I put a link to her whole article. There's an article about her team and everything in the description. So if you want to check that out, feel free also. There is a link there. And by the way, at the basketball game last night, which they won, of course, they won by over 20 points. They were throwing out t-shirts, and one of them landed in my lap, like I need yet another t-shirt. The Newburgh Wolves, the Lady Wolves. But I'll tell you what, these girls know how to play basketball. That's all I can tell you. And let me tell you one more thing about their basketball team, which I think is really cool. They have, on their best day, they have 8 players. That's on their best day. Now, one of their top 2 players got seriously injured in the leg, and she's been out the whole season. So that brings them down to 7 on their best day. And trust me, that was their second best player. So she's been out the whole time. And so that leaves them with only 7 players. Usually, one girl out of 7 has something wrong. So that usually just leaves 1 person on the bench. So they have 5 out on the floor, 1 on the bench, sometimes 2 on the bench. Last night they did have 2 on the bench. But often they only have 1 on the bench. And so they have to play the whole game that way, and yet they're still winning. And they've been playing teams that have more than twice the number of girls on the whole team on the bench. They have that many on the bench. So they've really been doing well. It's just been crazy how good they do for such a small little team and such a small little high school. But anyway, it's pretty cool. I really enjoy watching them. I mean, they're serious. They go for blood. But anyway, it's pretty funny. I just wanted to mention one more time my son's channel, Homestead Horsemanship. I put a link in there to his most recent video, so check that out if you would. If you know anybody that's interested in just animals in general or animal lover, horses especially, then please direct him to his channel, and the link is in the description. He could use all the help he can. He's trying to get that channel started, and it's growing very, very slowly, but it's growing. My channel just hit another mount. Our milestone. We just passed 70,000 subscribers. I thought we would have passed that back in June of last year, the way we were growing all at once there. I mean, around May and June of last year, we just had a huge growth spurt. We were getting a couple thousand a month, and then it just went. My buddy Randy, he knows all about that too, because you can't count on YouTube. One day it's great, the next day it's like in the toilet. So anyway, crazy. But we did hit 70,000, and I thank each and every single one of you. Thank you very much. Okay, I don't have much more here, so get your comments ready. Put 2 question marks in front of your question if you have a question for me. But I do have a couple things, and this could lead off into a rant, so you just never know. This first one especially. Shave your arms. Yeah, believe it or not, I've gotten several comments on that. Shave your arms. I bet your arms have never been shaved. Look, I'm sorry. I'm old school. You can call it whatever you want, but this man here is not ever going to shave his arms. And if you are shaving your arms, my suggestion for you is to turn in your man card. I'm not going to turn in my man card yet. Shave your arms. Give me a break. I mean, seriously, if we've gotten to that in this world where that's important, that a man shave his arms, oh, kiss my you-know-where. That's all I can tell you. It ain't happening. And you may as well just get over it or go somewhere else if it bothers you. That's all I can tell you. I am not shaving my arms. Period. 0. None. Ain't gonna happen. Oh my gosh. And then I've had I kind of, it's not always negative. Sometimes they're not negative, but I've had a lot of comments about my flannel shirts and my choice of shirts. Well, if you lived somewhere else besides the couch, especially out here on a rugged farm like this, and it's cold all the time in the wintertime, you'd be wearing something like this to warm up with too, These flannel shirts are much warmer than just your standard thin cotton shirt. And when you're out cutting wood out there, at 8 degrees and you're out there cutting firewood, you'd probably be wearing a flannel shirt too. And like when I'm done here, guess where I'm going? I'll be going to cut more firewood today probably. And some of you are probably thinking, why would you want to live like that? Well, first of all, it actually is pretty good exercise for an old guy like me to go out and cut firewood. It keeps me going, and with the arthritis thing I have, and it's just through my whole body now, it at least keeps me doing something. So there you go. Haas just did a super chat there for $5. Thank you so very, very much. I appreciate that very much. I'm not begging, but I appreciate everything we can get because, you know, you'd be surprised the expenses that go on behind the scenes around here. You really would. I'm not crying poor mouth. Trust me. I'm not hurting, and I'm not asking, I'm not begging. But I do thank all of my Patreon supporters for their continued support. It definitely helps. There's a lot more expense to this than you would ever think. I mean, I've got 3 cameras, of which 2 of them are marginal now because they've been dropped and broken, and those are expensive, $600-800 cameras, you know, and you know, so all that kind of stuff. It does help very much for the support that I get, so I appreciate it. All right, yeah, so I've talked about shaving my arms and my flannel shirts, and I've had a lot of other, you know, comments on that kind of thing in the past, you know, just personal things. It's like, forget it, guys. It ain't going to change. What you see is what you get. Shave your arms. Give me a break. I mean, yeah, I don't even, I'm speechless. With 6 minutes to go before I went live this morning, only 6 minutes to go on the clock is what it said, and it counts down for me. I cut this out. Bing. So I cut out the blank for the neck, and I still had 3 minutes left to go after I cut this out. But so anyway, I just thought I'd show you that. This is for the world's finest mandolin ever built by a human. You can see there the stripes going down through there. That's walnut and maple. And I'm making this a 7-piece neck. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 pieces there. And it's going to be very, very nice. And of course I'm using, that's the quilted maple that I'm making that out of. And looks like I'll have a couple of door stops out of this too, down the road. Anyway, here's the status. We've made some big progress. So I've got the top completely done now. I'm sure that the sound won't come through at all, but whoops, I'm hitting it up by the camera instead of the microphone. I don't know if you can hear anything at all, but I can hear it that long. Yeah, it's really got a nice resonant sound. It's going to be nice. I've drawn in the F-holes there, you can see. I have not put the braces inside yet, so I'll put the braces in today, hopefully, and maybe even get the sound holes cut out yet today. I have made the sides, and looky here, in that fancy there with that little extra little curl there. And so it's working out really nice. These sides are going to be wonderful. They're really flamed, going to have a ton of flame in them when it's all stained and everything, sanded. It's these little burn marks, they'll come right out. That you won't even see that. None of that'll be there. That's just very light surface burning. And but it's going to be some beautiful, beautiful wood when this is stained and everything. And then, of course, I've got the back completely finished. So by the end of next week, by Shop Talk next time, I might actually have this kind of in, you know, put together form. Not saying that'll be happening for sure, but it could be. So the status of the world's finest mandolin ever built by a human, which if those of you who have seen me say this before know that that's just a goal. I'm not bragging that it is that. I'm trying to make it that. And I'm trying really hard to make it that, but I'm not going to, you know, take any shortcuts at all. I'm going to go all the way with this thing and see how far I can take it. Okay, I think I'm ready for questions here. Let me double check my my outline here just to make sure. I think so. Looks like there's a lot of questions scrolling up. I'm going to scroll back up a little ways and see if I can find any here that have gone off the screen. Clyde Lewis says, what kind of solar activated security light do you recommend for around buildings, etc.? Also, do you use one of those lighted magnifying glasses for detail work? I may need to get a better one. Yes, yeah, I do have actually both of those. Now, my solar activated security lights, believe it or not, have come from Harbor Freight, and doggone it, I like them. I don't know the specific one, but the one I have on my front door out here, man, you can be just driving down the road and it'll turn on, and it's, I don't know, almost 20 yards out to the road, at least 15 yards. So, you know, it works really well, and it's super bright. So I got them at Harbor Freight. They were definitely cheaper, and they work pretty good. I didn't buy their cheapest one at Harbor Freight, you understand. I did buy one of their better ones. But anyway, it worked out really well. And as far as these lights go, I just get these off of eBay, and you know, I don't know. I just get what I can, and you can see there that it's a LED like the circle deal, and it does have a magnifier in it too. I don't use the magnifier all that often, but it does come in handy sometimes. And I'll turn that light off. I don't know if that helps or not. But anyway, I do use those, and that's where I got my security light. I'd tell you the exact model if I knew it, but I don't know it offhand. What's your favorite brand of shirts? Brand? You know, I'm not a brand loyal person. I don't have a brand, honestly. If it fits me, it's my favorite. That's the truth. I'm not a fashion guy, as you can tell. That's pretty obvious. And the other thing about it is I always buy tall shirts, or whatever you call it, because they got the longer sleeves. All my sleeves are always too short. Always. I don't care how long the sleeves are, they're too short, you know. I got long arms, long fingers, and so anyway, I buy the tall shirts. I don't know. I'm not a fashion guy or clothing guy at all. I know nothing about all that stuff, and I never will be. It holds the other thing to know about me is I don't care about any of that kind of stuff. You know, fashion, to me, fashion if I was on a scale of importance in my life, fashion and status type stuff, you know, like, you know, the fine car and all that kind of stuff, that would be just below an earthworm. That's about where it would be on my scale of things that are important in my life. Yeah. Zero. I like cars. You know, I know most people enjoy it. And don't get me wrong. I like a nice car, just something that you can depend on. It doesn't have to be the fanciest car in the world, but it's got to be dependable. It's got to, look halfway decent. I don't want to drive some junker or something. But I just could care less about cars. I really could. Everybody's always, get off on having the finest vehicle, etc. and so forth. I could care less. I really don't care anything about cars or any of that kind of stuff. Status of any kind. Just don't care. It's just not on my scale. I don't even. And the other thing is, I can't recognize cars at all. I think it's gotten worse over the years. But my son can be next door and drive in, and I can't even tell it's him. It's pitiful. I just don't care anything about cars at all. It's crazy. I removed Daniel Abagatis or something like that. I removed the undersaddle pickup from a LOO new one. It seems to create cushion for the saddle. I like the sound much better now. Do you think undersaddle pickups affect the sound? I don't quite understand the question. I'm a poor reader, so if you've written it right and I just can't read it right, I'm sorry. I removed the under saddle pickup from the LOO newer ones. I don't know what any of that means. I'm sorry. But all I know is under saddle pickups, if it's under the saddle, generally speaking, they don't really hurt you when you're plugged in, but when you're not plugged in, they usually mute your saddle quite a bit and usually cause problems in terms of just acoustic, But while you're plugged in and using the pickup, no, they don't really create a problem. So that's the best answer I got for you, Daniel. I wish I could help you better. What would you, here's just a letter B is the name. It says, what would be the first thing you'd tell young self if you could, before first started working on instruments? If I could go back and tell myself something, not exactly sure what that would be. Maybe do a bit more research before I got started. Even though I did quite a bit, actually. I read a lot of stuff and did a whole lot of, like I mentioned to you, I went to the library like pretty much every day for several months and read everything I could find on the old violin makers and things like that. So I was pretty well read up. But I think I still was naive on a lot of things, and it would have been better to have a little more knowledge about a lot of different kinds of things in terms of instruments. I don't know. It's really hard to say. I don't know that I'd probably do anything much different than I did, I guess. That's probably the truth. It's a good question, but I just don't have a good answer. I'm sorry. Can you, Henry Golick says, can you do a video on sharpening chisels, knives? I have done those. There's a couple out there. Yeah, Henry, I have done a couple. I think if you just type in RSW sharpen chisel or something like it, you'll probably find something. I've had a number of them, actually. I've had 2 or 3. I don't know. I'll consider doing another one down the road, but right now I don't have any plans to do that. Ed D says he's been watching for 5 years and was amazed at my multi-talents or something like that, and he says, now I learned you had a radio program. Yeah, I had a radio program for several years. Well, first of all, one of the local DJs would call me in to sit in for him quite often, actually, and I sat in for his show a number of times. And he ran for public office, and I ran his show for like a whole year because he couldn't be on the air. And then one of our local DJs that ran the bluegrass show at another station passed away, and that station hired me to run their bluegrass program for a couple of years. And honestly, it was, I hate to brag on my own show, but it was really doing well, and people loved it. But that radio was a profitable type radio station, and we were doing well on anytime they had any kind of a drive or anything. The bluegrass always supported it as well as anybody, and so we were doing well from that standpoint. But I wasn't big on going out and getting radio advertising, and I think they just decided that they wanted to replace me mostly because of that, and they got a free show, and that's what took over. And they got over, I think they said they got over 300 letters from listeners at the station wanting to put me back on the air, but they didn't do it. So anyway, that was my radio career. It was several years, and I mostly produced the show right in my own recording studio and then just gave them the show, and they just played the show, basically. I was live on the one station quite often, but the other station, the bigger station, it was a pre-recorded show. Anyway, have you ever tried tasting vegetables yet? What did you think? Well, I was actually you know, when I had the COVID thing, I lost my sense of taste. But I didn't lose it entirely, like most people. I still had some sense of taste, and I had it all the way through. I had no sense of smell. I couldn't smell anything. But I did have some sense of taste. And no, I didn't try vegetables during that time. But my taste has actually come back now pretty quickly. My daughter's taste, and it's been well over a year, she still doesn't have her taste back. At least that's what she says. And she doesn't have her smell back either, really. But me, I'm pretty much back. I wouldn't say I'm completely 100% back to normal on my taste yet, but it's definitely recovered a lot. So yeah, I'm the vegetable thing. I think mainly because I know what it tasted like before. I can't get past it. I can't do it. Sorry. Richard Smith, best wood for solid body electric ukulele. Well, Richard, I don't even have a good guess on that one. I'm sorry. I don't deal in that, and so I don't have a best wood suggestion. Perhaps some of the other folks on here will. Trying to think of my good buddy's name. Know me in names. I can't even name my own band on stage. So it's no reflection on him, but the fella out of Oklahoma that's been here, Daryl Blanchard. Yeah, there you go, Daryl Blanchard. He might have a suggestion for you. He builds a lot of ukuleles and does really nice work, by the way. Maybe he can make a suggestion. I just don't have one. If I was going to make a suggestion, it'd just be the standard old woods that I use, which would be like either mahogany or rosewood or something like that. The next one here, has a mandolin ever been built by a non-human? Yeah, actually they have. There's lots of them being made these days. They maybe put together and assembled by humans, but they're being made on computers. So, CNCs and that sort of thing. So, not trying to be funny when I say made by a human. I mean, seriously, all of it, 100% is being made with these hands. Now, having said that, I will do some laser cutting on some of the inlays. But the overall mandolin and the sound and all of the general quality of the instrument will be done by these hands. And even the inlay will still have to be some, done by hand on that too. In fact, the body inlay around the body and all that I plan to do is going to all be done by hand. Let's see here. What other questions? Could you get Sierra Hull to play your world's finest mandolin? Well, that would be fun. I've got an idea. I know the Chapman fellows down there in Springfield that have the acoustic shop. They have a lot of videos on YouTube, by the way. You might check them out. The acoustic shop, the Chapmans. And the Chapmans are a wonderful bluegrass band. I mean, they are killer. And I know those guys fairly well. I may take it down there and see if Jeremy will play it for the crowd, for you guys, and because he's a fantastic mandolin player, just really, really good. And I don't know Sierra well enough to just walk up to her and ask her, but if I run into her, I'll certainly give it a shot. If the strings on a guitar, let's see, I'm trying to read this here. If the strings on a guitar rest on a saddle, why do they rest on a bridge on a violin? Well, the difference is the saddle is the part that sits on top of the bridge, and the violin only is a bridge. There is no saddle that sits on top of it. So there's the difference by my explanation. That's how I explain it anyway. Just like you have a saddle that sits on top of a guitar bridge, you have a saddle that sits on top of a mandolin bridge. But you don't have a saddle that sits on top of a violin bridge. It just is a bridge. That's my explanation, and I'm sticking to it. Bruce Ducker has a bunch of question marks with a bunch of scribbles in between there, so I have no idea what that's about, but thank you anyway. Thank you for participation. Mark and Company. Would you please hold the shop talk for a few minutes? I have to go and shave my chest. Yeah, Mark, I'll do that for you. Oh, that's funny. Yes, yes. Yeah. But be sure to turn in your man card. Gee whiz. Jerry says it needs to be, Jeremy Wolstenholm says it has to be Koa. So I guess for your electric ukulele, it needs to be Koa. Yeah, I'm sure Koa would be a good choice. I mean, for an electric instrument, you could make it out of metal if you want. Can you put finish on wood if it has been treated with linseed oil first? Probably, but you'd have to let the linseed oil, really cure and dry. But if you did a light sanding over it, yeah, I'm sure you could do it. No problem. I'm sure I've done it. Have you tried your hand at leather work like making guitar straps? Oh yeah, I used to do tons of leather work. Actually, I showed some of that on my on one of my videos where I showed making the bow and arrow. I made my quiver, leather work quiver. Yeah, I used to do a ton of leather work actually, but I did most of that in my younger days. And I have made leather guitar straps and leather mandolin straps, etc. But I just don't prefer those. I actually prefer, for my mandolins. Now, I don't really care about guitar straps too much because I don't play guitar. But for my mandolins, I just use a string, and I really prefer that, mainly because it's so easy to put in the case. It's just easy. I don't have to deal with anything. I don't have to fold anything up. Call me lazy. I don't know. I just like simple. And that's simple, and I like simple. I always have liked simple. Whatever simple is, that's what I like. Have you tried your... okay, I'm sorry, I read that one. What is the measurement from floor to top of your bandsaw table? Building a stand for my bandsaw and looking for the best height. Well, I don't know, but I can tell you pretty quickly. Let me just check it real quick here. It's about 43 and a half inches. 43 and a half inches to the top of the table from the floor. Now that also is sitting on a stand, and the stand I think raises it up about another inch. So if you want to, but I'm tall, so that it's fine for me. I say tall. I've lost height over the last few years with the arthritis and all the stuff in the spine and all that. But I used to be 6'1". I'm about 6 foot even right now, barely 6 foot actually. I've really actually shrunk quite a bit because of the spine and all the stuff. Let's see here. What is the length of a standard mandolin fretboard? Well, you guys are asking the tough questions today. Well, offhand, I don't know. I don't, I do buy the I do everything by pattern, and I buy the pre-cut fretboards from Stuart McDonald. So I just buy the ones that already have the fret slots cut in them. Now, I used to cut my own slots and do all that, but I found I couldn't do it any better than I could buy, so I just buy them pre-slotted. Anyway, the point is I don't know what the actual length is because I just buy them pre-cut and I just put my pattern on there and trace around it and do it. So I'd tell you if I knew, but I just don't know. I'm sure there's plenty of information on, you could find online on that, and I'm sure someone here on the forum could tell you also, because a lot of people get into those kinds of details and know all those kind of specifics. I don't need to know any of that because I just use a pattern and just go with that. And it works. Jesse Burge, my guitar building buddy down there, let's see, in Texas, and he says, would you like some Hollywood for your binding on the mandolin? It's real white. Well, Jesse, I've got different plans for that, so I think I'll have to pass on it. I appreciate your offer, and I'm sure I would put it to good use eventually somewhere down the road, but on this particular mandolin, I've already got my thought set on that, I think. And it's going to be a real unique binding, I think. Michael too says the Rosameister shaves his arms every time he sharpens a knife. Yeah, I do. Yeah, they just haven't been watching. That's all. They would know I shave my arms if they just watched the show. Obviously, they don't watch very close. Why don't we see your wife in any of your videos? My wife doesn't like to be on video, and you will see her in cameos in different videos, and especially the one coming up about me building the tower stand that you've already seen previews on in my shop talks. There's some videos coming out on that right away. Emery's working on those, and I think I put one out just recently on the sawmill. If I, sawing some of that cedar on the post, I think I just put that out recently, didn't I? I tell you guys, I am so busy, I can't keep track of nothing anymore. I really can't. I just constantly running here, running there. I'd forget my head if it wasn't tied on. But yeah, you'll see my wife in a video too of that. She's either operating the Bobcat or something while I'm doing something else up high. So, but she doesn't like to be on camera, so you won't really see her on camera. Thank you, Matt. Mr. Rosa needs more likes, please. Thank you. I appreciate that. Greetings from Canada. Love your show and wisdom in all things acoustic. Do you see any advantage in radius fingerboards on a mandolin? Honestly, I don't see any advantage to it. I know a lot of people just have those kinds of things. To me, it really seems kind of like a fad to me. I see absolutely no reason to do it. But everybody seems to think, or not everybody, but there's a lot of people that seem to think a radius fingerboard is the way to go. I find it very awkward myself, and also the huge frets that people were putting in mandolins for a long time there. Gee whiz, I cannot figure that one out for nothing. That just makes no sense to me at all. Now, I know some people will claim and swear that they play much faster. If you like them and it works for you, I got no problem with that. I'm just talking about me personally. I got no use for any of that. Lloyd Lohr seemed to have it pretty well, and I kind of just follow that, and it works for me. But everybody's different, I got no problem if that's what you like and if that's what you want to do. And where else can you go in this whole world and buy a left-handed radius mandolin saddle with grooves? You can get that from me. A left-handed radius mandolin saddle with grooves. I've sold a number of those. So, yeah, I got no problem with it. I'll support it, but I just don't like it myself. Radius, and large frets. I don't like those at all. Larry says it's his first time getting to see us in real time. I have watched your enjoy the program. I learned a great deal. Thank you. Stu Max sells every instrument fretboard. I think so, Richard. As far as I know. I don't know. I'm sure they sell the mainstream stuff for sure, the guitars and mandolins and things, and they do have a few different fret scales and things. I don't think they have that many fret scales for a mandolin, but I'm pretty sure they do for guitar. Although I haven't really researched any of that too much, to be honest with you. So, but I'm sure you can find it if you go to their site. They've got it all listed out there. What is the status of your secret project for the cedar you cut? Well, Bruce, that's kind of that thing. In the past several shop talks, I've been showing the tower stand I've been building, Bruce, and that's what the cedar is for a tower deer hunting stand or lookout stand, whatever you want to call it. It's just, for me, it's just a place to go sit and watch the animals. I love it. I just sit up there for an hour or two and just relax. And it's pretty well finished now. I've got it insulated, got the, floors in, the whole bit. It's really nice. Windows, the whole bit. Yeah, he said Joseph said he enjoyed the cedar sawmill video. Dennis Hortman says, are the antler saddles specifically for mandolins rather than guitars? Would my Taylor guitar benefit? Yeah, the antler saddle works great on guitars too, Dennis, but I don't people always assume that I will sell the antler for the guitars since I sell them for the mandolins. The difference is the mandolins are pretty much standard. They're just made all one size and one shape, and they fit most mandolins. They don't fit them all, but they fit most mandolins. The difference with a guitar is every single saddle on every single guitar has to be custom fit. And so I don't sell them for guitars. I only do that when they're in the shop. And even if you have, like 10 models of the same guitar, if you had 10 guitars, all the same model is what I'm trying to say, every single saddle will be slightly different. At least, you could probably play most of them with the same saddle, but play perfectly and play it really well, not likely. Have it set up perfectly is what I'm trying to say. Every one of them takes a unique setup to make the saddle work perfectly on a guitar. So that's why I don't mess with selling those, and that's why I don't sell blanks. I don't want to get into that. I get too much. I can't even say grace over all the stuff I'm doing now, so I can't take on all of that. And mostly I just don't want to take on all of that. I'm too old to mess with all that stuff now. Had this all come around 30 years ago, if YouTube had been there, you betcha I'd be right in the middle of all of that. Let's see here. I'm trying to catch myself back up. Michael 2X says, Homestead Horsemanship channel is awesome. JR sounds like the Rosameister. I don't know how I got to be the Rosameister, but I'll take it. Joseph Brabham, I watched the video where you were cutting the cedar on the saw engine. Okay, I read that one already. Sorry, I'm just, like I told you, I'm a slow reader. Are the antler saddles, okay, got that one too. Mandolin is 13 1/8 to 14 3/8 inches nut to saddle string height, saddle string length. That's from Lloyd. 13 1/8 to 14 3/8. I'll take your word for it, Lloyd. I honestly don't know without checking it. Again, and even on that, you might think, well, surely you know the scale. No, I don't even really know that, because I do it by intonation, by setting it up, and I don't measure it. I don't need to measure it. I just make sure that it intonates perfectly. I'm approaching it from a different angle, and if it intonates perfectly, then whatever the scale is, it just is. I don't care what the scale is. That's just the truth of it. Sue me, I just don't care. And that's just the truth of it. Let's see here. Charlie Bryant says, I ordered a radius saddle for my Regal from your last night. Thanks in advance. You're welcome, Charlie. And more than likely, I'll be getting that out to you today. I haven't had time to look at orders that came in yesterday, and Emery's not here yet. Emery really runs all that part of it now, and she will be telling me to make whatever you ordered. And we have them pre-made, you understand. My buddy Ron, and I got to tell you about Ron, by the way. Thanks for the reminder. But Ron makes the blanks up ahead of time. And some people say, you should have Ron do the rest of it. Well, the problem is, every single order that comes in is unique. And I'll have to radius this, put grooves in it, don't put grooves in it, left-handed, right-handed, except, So we just have Ron make them up in a blank form, and then I finish them to whatever the actual specific order comes in for. And some of them need bigger holes, that whole thing. So anyway, that's the reason they're just in blank form, and I finish them as they come in. Now, speaking about Ron, Ron needs everybody's prayers. He's in the hospital, been in the hospital for several days with COVID, not doing well. He's my best friend, really, for the last 20 years now, since we've been living here on the farm. He really has been my best friend, my right-hand man. He comes here, helps me do things. I really feel bad about this because I really think he got the COVID from me. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I suspect. What happened was Ron, I think I told you about this in one of the previous shop talks. And I think it was on the one where I was talking about problem solving and, don't jump to conclusions. Well, I was telling you that Ron had mentioned that he had several trees that everybody said, and including the highway department, everybody said these trees are going to fall on the highway when you cut them down. There's nothing you can do about it. And I told Ron ahead of time, I said, no, I don't think that's true, Ron. I'm pretty sure I can make them fall wherever you want them to fall. I don't claim to be the tree falling expert, you understand, but I've fallen probably more trees than almost anybody on the planet except for professionals. Now, I'm not putting myself in the professional level because I'm not a professional. But in terms of private individuals cutting down trees, I'm probably near the top of the list. Because I have just done it so much in my life, and especially here on this farm, wearing out as many chainsaws as I've worn out, I pretty much know how to cut down a tree. Having said that, he wanted me to come over and help him because he knew he was into trouble there on the highway. So I did, and as it turned out, I thought I was getting my typical yearly lung infection that I get every single year, and I, knock on wood, have not got it this year. I don't know why, because this is the first year in 20-some years that I haven't gotten this. Thank you, God, because if I had gotten it on top of the COVID, oh, forget it. You wouldn't see me anymore, trust me, because that by itself is horrible. I get it every year, and it was worse than the COVID, to be honest with you, for me. But Ron, he didn't get the vaccines. He didn't get the booster shots or any of that stuff. So the COVID hit him big time. Anyway, I'm mixing this story all up. I'm sorry. But anyway, so he wanted me to come over there on a Tuesday. Well, about Monday, I started getting that cough thing going on in my chest, and I really thought it was just my normal annual thing because that's what it felt like. Well, I didn't find out till Thursday that it was actually COVID. And of course, I was there on Tuesday with Ron, and then, I don't know, a week or so later, Ron came down with COVID. Now, we weren't real close that day, you understand. I mean, we weren't holding hands or nothing, I mean, we were working, and, but I'm sure we got close enough to transmit it, I guess, because it is airborne. So I feel terrible about it, but he is in bad shape. So I would really appreciate your prayers and send them out to Ron in the hospital. And we'll just have to wait and see how that turns out. Let's see here. Anyway, any more thoughts on making a video on my fishing pond? Well, I got a real nice surprise last night. My daughter and my 2 grandsons came back in from Ohio last night. They have a 4-day weekend or something, and they just decided to come out and surprise us. I did not know they were coming. They showed up about 9 o'clock last night. It was really a surprise. And so he loves to fish, my oldest grandson. So maybe we could do something with that. The last time they were here during the Christmas holiday, I had the COVID and I couldn't spend any time with them. And my 10th day was their last day here. So I did get to spend a little bit of time with them on my last day. But anyway, so they're back here, and I'm sure if it warms up at all, I'm sure he'll be up there fishing. So maybe we could try to do a little bit on that pond with the fishing up there, because you'd be surprised, there's some pretty decent fishing going on up there. Alan, let's see, Jason Wallen says, if Alan Dust is on here, can he give you his contact information to order his drill sanders? You know, he did give me his information. Where is that? I don't know if I have it laying here or... I had it. I don't know if I still have it. If I can find it, I'll try to put a link to it in the description of this video. But that'll be later, and I'll have to make a note here. And if I don't make the note right now, I won't make the note. So let me write a note here that I can see if I can put Alan Dust on there. Okay. It's tough getting old, trust me. But anyway, I'll see if I can do that. It's not like I don't have but 2 or 3 things to do anyway. Oh my gosh. So Alan, if you're on here, post your contact information there in the comments if you want to be contacted about your sanders. His sander is awesome. It really is. I've said this before, and I don't mean to wear this out, but when I first saw it, I thought, man, that doesn't look like that's going to work with a darn. That's really was my first thought. And then I thought, well, I still need to give it a fair try. So I tried it, and it was like, man, this works awesome. It really works really well. It really does. So thank you again there, Mr. Dust. I appreciate it. Alan Dust. And I'll be using it on this mandolin neck too. When I shape this mandolin neck, you'll see it again. That scrolled up quite a ways here. Ed D says, I'm sure you value your privacy, but would be willing to show some photos of young Jerry Rose in his various pursuits as a young guy. I'm sure we'd love to see them. Well, Ed, I don't have a whole lot, I don't think, about that, but I used to be really into archery. I may have a few photos of me into the archery thing. As I mentioned, I was like Missouri State champion when I was like 16. Yeah. At one time, I hate to brag on this too much, but at one time, yeah, I could pretty much shoot. You could probably hold an apple at 50 or 60 yards, and I probably could have shot it out of your fingers. I would never have tried that, don't get me wrong, but I was pretty good at hitting stuff like that. Couldn't do that now. Man, it'd kill me. I could still, one shot, I can still shoot pretty dang good. But more than one shot, yeah, it'd tear me up. My best wishes to Ron. I just lost a good friend, 10 years younger than me, and picture of health. Yeah, Ron's always been in real good health. And matter of fact, that's one of Ron's, what he likes to talk about is that he doesn't, take a bunch of drugs and all these different things, and like so many people are on so many medications and stuff, and he's really been very, 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 very healthy. But this has knocked him to his knees. He's on oxygen and he's not doing well. So I'm sure Ron would appreciate your prayers, and I know I would. Okay, I'm going to take one or two more here, and we're going to get off here. Chipwood says, any way to get the printed copy of your mandolin lesson? I still have the CD part. Get well soon. Chip, send me an email and tell me what you're looking for again, specifically, because I have a lot of stuff, and I'm sure I can find what you're looking for, and I'll send it to you. It's best I can hope to do, Chip. Thank you. I don't see any more questions there at the moment. Leanna Summerlin's, shaving arms is weird for a guy to do. Maybe if he is covered in tattoos that you can't see. Yeah, well, that's another thing, Leanna. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Leanna, I believe. But I can tell you right now, I don't have any tattoos either. I am definitely old school. Yeah. You know what's weird, though, is that if you go all the way back to Ötzi the Iceman, several thousand years ago, he had tattoos. So I guess old school had tattoos. Anyway, I think that's going to be it, guys. Thank you all for being so nice to me. Thank you for praying for Ron. He's going to need every prayer he can get. I'm sure he's going to recover. I just feel positive he will. But boy, he's really not done well. Now, for me, the COVID thing, I got to be honest. Now, I had both shots, and ahead of time, and I had my pharmacy friend Bruce put me on all the vitamins and everything when I got the COVID, and COVID for me, I got to be honest, it wasn't much. It really wasn't. I lost my taste, I lost my smell. I didn't feel great by any stretch, and I got the infusion, and really after about 12 hours after getting the infusion, roughly, or maybe a little longer, I started feeling quite a bit better. And I didn't even feel that bad. Honestly, my thing I get every year in my lungs was way worse. I mean, there's some years when I get that in my lungs, I'm wondering if I'm going to wake up the next day. I mean, that's how bad it is. And so if I got COVID on top of that, lights out, see ya. So thank you, God, for not giving me that this year with COVID. But anyway, yeah, that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being nice to me. We'll see you next Friday, same time, same place.